Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. So today I am going to open with a old traditional pose out of my eyeing or studying. So we're going to use that pose to open the front body a bit, and then we'll just see where we go from there. Let's begin. So the old traditional pose, of course, is requiring blocks and bolsters, and but sitting in Virasana has the heels on the side of your legs, so you're not sitting on the feet like thunderbolt pose, brdge, but one of the big keys here is to really press into the shin bones. Now, the old traditional pose from an Iyengar perspective is, having all these props to recline in the pose, and that's the front body opening. So my knees were coming off the floor there, but I just wanted to do a quick what the traditional form might look like, and then give you some options. So if you have no props or something that you might want to put under your head, you could try to sit here. But a lot of times people have trouble getting the sit bones on the floor, so you're going to want to put a block or a cushion or something that you can sit on to give you a little bit of elevation. So if that's all you have, what you can start to do is walk the hands back and just hang out on the arms and really press. You can hold the feet and really press the shin bones into the floor. And then I'll show you, if you have a chair or a bench or anything like that, you can bring that in and you can sit on whatever you need to sit on. Because the nice thing about blocks is they can be raised higher. So if you needed to sit up higher, then with a chair, you could kind of lean back. I can put my head back here, which is a really nice option. So that's the nice thing about having a chair. So what you want to watch out for this pose is you want to try to have, I'm going to face different ways so you can see it. You really want to have those shin bones long, shin bones long, but those femur bones really parallel and long. There might be some space in between your legs, and that's okay. I know some schools seem to go back with the legs wider, but it doesn't feel right to me to teach that. It feels right for me to teach the legs as parallel as possible so that you can really press into your shins. You might need something under your ankles. So I'm going to go into the easy mode here and hang out in the chair and just give you some ideas. But again, like I said, it's called Supta Virasana, reclining. Now I'm even forgetting what Virasana is called. Anyway, it's a great front stretch pose. I'm going to come into the easy pose in the chair. You don't want your the fold and your thigh sockets really sinking down. You're trying to get that area lifted more. So you could bring your hands and really lengthen the buttocks here so that you've got length in the lower back. And this, I'm not getting as much of a stretch with the chair because I can usually go lower. So I might do the next thing, which is coming down to my arms a little bit. And only stay as long as you can find some comfort in this pose. Oh, that's not too bad, but that brings my chin forward, so that's a different way to do it. And just have a few breaths here, wherever you are in the pose. And then to come out of the pose, you want to lift the chin to the chest and come up to sitting again. If you need a little bit of relief from, you can just come forward on hands and knees for a minute. And then come back to sitting in Virasana, and we'll do a couple of arm stretches. So bring the hands into prayer position. I don't think we've done this in a very long time. And you're going to cross one finger over. So right now I'm crossing my right finger, and then you press the hands forward. And then you inhale the arms up, and you release the arms to come behind you, and you interlock the fingers and open here at the chest. And then on the exhale, you release the hands back forward and come into prayer position. So we'll do the opposite crossover. Inhale up. Exhale in front, inhale up, exhale behind, and then when you get the fingers, you inhale again, exhale in front, and inhale back into prayer position. So we'll do 2 more rounds of that. Inhale and exhale, and inhale and exhale, and inhale, and exhale, and inhale, and exhale. Then we'll do the other side. Inhale, exhale, inhale overhead, exhale behind, inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. And that's something that you could easily do sitting in your chair at the computer. You can just do a few rounds of that and just liven up those arms and get a good stretch through those wrists, because especially all that typing you might be doing. And then we'll do Guru Dasana arms. So I've got my arms out to the side. I'm bringing my right elbow under the left. And again, if you can only go this far and then grasp your hands on your shoulders, you can do a little bit of lifting with the elbows to feel a bit of the stretch. Or if you can do it fully, you bring the hands here and just really lengthen through the elbows, squeeze through the arms. So it's like ropes. You're really wringing the ropes together. And that gives a bit of space between the shoulder blades. And then release that side. And then inhale the other arm underneath. And again, you can do this option. Hands here, stretching the elbows up. Or you can bring the hands together, arms like ropes, and really squeezing that. And then release the arms and come up. And since you've been sitting on your feet, it's great to press through those toes and bring the hands forward, and then lengthen the sit bones back to the heels to stretch out those feet from sitting on the feet. They might look a little funny when you've been sitting for a few minutes on that. And then keep the feet where they are. Walk the hands a little further and lift the sit bones, and then you can try to bring the chest and the head down towards the floor. And then bring the forearms down. And this is always interesting to try to really press the wrists down. Ever since I broke the left wrist, I can't get it down like I used to. So I'm always working on this. And then we'll come into half plank. So one of the easier ways to do it is extend one leg back and then the other, coming into half plank. Now, if you want some abdominal challenges, you can bring the right knee in and bring it back. Bring the left knee in. Bring it back. Bring the right knee in. Bring it back. Bring the left knee in. Come back. And then come all the way down to your belly and walk those elbows forward for a stretch in the shoulders. And of course, an alternative, if that doesn't feel right to you too, is to, if you have your chair, you can always come into the chair and do the stretch here too. So there's a few options of how you can do that stretch. And then again, come up to all fours, and come up, bring the forearms down. See, forearms. See if you can really press the hands down so that you engage those shoulder blades and roll them down. And then extend one leg, tuck the toes under, and the other into half plank. And if you want more of a challenge, again, inhale the right leg in, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, and then again, come down to your belly, release that, bring the elbows forward. And you can, when you bring the elbows together, you can't slide as well on your mat, because that's the whole point of a sticky mat, is that keeps you from sliding in standing poses. But you can start walking the elbows forward to get a little more stretch and bring the head down while you still have some action in the legs. And since we're already down here, curve the arms down to your side, and we'll come up into a little Sarvangasana, lifting the legs, looking forward, arms next to you. And then just have a couple of seconds rest with your head on your hands. We'll start elevating the heart rate. And then we'll go through one more cycle of putting these poses together. So come onto your forearms. You're really trying to press as much as you can through the hands and the wrists. Take one foot behind you, then the other into half plank. You can just stay here for a few breaths if that works for you, or you can go into the bringing the knees in for some abdominal work. Then come on down to bringing those elbows forward. Stretch through the shoulders. And then circle those arms behind you so the palms face the floor. Slowly lift the feet off, head and chest just for a little back bend. And then bring your hands under your shoulders as you come up to all fours. You can tuck your toes under and come into a downward facing dog. And then bring the legs down. I just remembered Virasana means hero pose. Sometimes I cannot remember things, but my body always does eventually. So come back into big toes together, knees wide. And then inhale again. Tuck the toes under and come into downward facing dog. And then inhale, one leg, knee forward for a little bit more abdominal work. And then bring that leg back. And then bring the other leg forward for some abdominal work. And then bring that leg back. And then see if you can bring the right foot between your hands. You may have to lift the fingers. This is where having the two blocks can be a really lovely addition to practice, where with the two blocks, I can really bring that foot in. But if you don't have them, it's no big deal. And then come into a lunge and be on your fingertips, and then really extend through that back leg. And then slowly bring the hands up to the thigh. And again, you might want to check how straight the back leg is or not. And then if you want to go further, you can inhale the arms up. And then to come out, you bring the hands, fingertips next to the foot. Then you can place the palms down and bring that knee slowly back into downward facing. If you find it challenging to be in downward facing, you can always go into big toes together, knees wide, in between. If you're okay in downward dog, you can stay here the whole time in the transitions. So then inhale the left knee forward between your hands and really straighten through the back heel so that you're really engaging the front thigh here. And then slowly bring the hands up to the thigh. Really press through that back heel. And then you can inhale those arms up. Warrior one pose or lunge warrior. And then bring the hands back down. You can start with the fingertips, then the palms, then bending that knee and slowly bring it back. And again, here you can stay in downward dog for a few breaths, or you can go into big toes together, knees wide. That's forward facing hero pose. We have Supta Virasana, and we have forward facing hero pose. So hero pose goes in many directions. And then inhale, the right knee forward between your palms. Now this time we're going to take the back heel and bring the back heel down so the heels are in line. Now again, firm up that back leg so you're really pressing into that back foot, and then we're going to just float the upper body up into warrior two pose. So this is where you really have to be connected into your lower body. Feel the power through the lower body so that your upper body can be light and separate and can come up with lightness. And then you can windmill the back arm and come back down, pivot the foot around and place the hands down, and then bend the knee in, coming back to downward facing dog. And then inhale the left knee in between the hands and place that back heel down so you're really pressing into the outer edges of the foot, really engaging the leg, and then you can float pose. You can look over the front hand if that works for you. And then you can windmill the back arm so that you place the fingertips down, pivot the leg around. Then you can place the palms down, bring that left leg back. And again, you can stay in downward dog or go into big toes together, knees wide. Because eventually, if you can come out of your shoulders enough, you can find restfulness in downward dog. Because the head is lower than the heart. And if you're really using your legs, especially those front thighs. So now inhale the right leg forward between the hands, and again place the left foot down, really ground into that back foot. Now you can bring the forearm onto the thigh, and you can either unfurl like a fern to the arms straight up, or you can come up and over into Parsvangasana, side angle lateral pose. So with the arm like this, you can get a very nice length through one side. And then to come out of it, you just bring the torso around, pivot the leg around, palms down, bend the knee, bring it back into downward facing dog. And then bend that left knee in, pivot the back foot down, and then bring the forearm on the thigh, and either unfurl the arm up like a fern, or you can bring it up and over. And then bring the body around on that leg, hands down, bringing the foot down. Couple of breaths into downward dog. And then we can all go into big toes together, knees wide. And then come up onto all fours, and we'll come into some plank pose. So I guess today we are going more into some core work again. I never know what's going to happen. And extend through the feet and really come into just plank pose. See if you can feel that. And then bend the knees down. I have some ideas for a real playfulness in this. I'm just gonna show you something you can play with, and you can just do parts of this practice, or you can try to integrate the poses. So we first come into plank pose, then we go into side plank pose. Then we bring the feet around and come into a bit of a back bend. And then we come back into side plank pose and then back into plank. And then you can have big toes together, knees wide. I'll do the other side because I realized my back was to you in that one. But there's something sometimes we have to shake things up and just go into a playful mode, and that often just helps us sometimes do something that normally we couldn't do or don't do or are a little bit nervous about trying. So on the other side again, we come into plank pose and then side plank pose. And again, with side plank, you can have your variations. So you can bring the foot in front or behind. But that also is what helps us come into the back bend variation. And then coming back into side plank. And then back into full plank. And then big toes together, knees wide. So it's quite a playful practice, and I gotta admit, I haven't done this in ages, but I think it's a lot of fun. And I'll try to give you variations. So if you're struggling with plank, of course, you can bring the knees back and work on really establishing the hands into the shoulder blade connection. Now, if you're okay with partial plank, you can extend one leg, keep one knee down, bring one knee down, other knee down. So wherever you're at in that. And then the side plank variation, you can come here and just bring a foot down and even keep the top arm down, but the top arm up often helps do the position because you can still move into this pose. So you're trying to look down to see if the feet are parallel, and then you're trying to open the front body here, just like we did in the very first pose, Supta Virasana. And then back to side plank and back around to plank into big toes together, knees wide. So we were opening the front body there, and now we are taking advantage of that and opening even more. So that's what's very playful about this practice. And again, if you need to, go through the modifications. So I'll do it one more time here and show those variations. Like I said, if you're having difficulty with plank, you can extend one leg and really ground through those hands. And then you can extend the other leg if that's what works for you today. Or you can try to do the full pose and maybe that's all you do. If you come into side plank, again, you can have a foot behind to support you or in front. You just want to lift that underside body. And then if you want to come all the way around, come into that stretch. And then it's coming back into side plank, back into full plank. And then big toes together, knees wide. And since we were using the wrists a bit today, take your hands, bring your knees onto your hands, and then try to sit back down and see if you can find a good wrist stretch and maybe a little bit of a hand massage there. It's so nice to use your own body to find these things that you can give yourself really good stretches. So that's a really nice way to then stretch the arms. And I'm just doing a little rocking motion because that feels good into my hands, because I can really feel that cartilage in my knee kind of massage all those bones in my hands. So that feels good to me. So that's a nice stretch to do for your wrists. And then you can, if you need to, bring them out and shake them out. Because that's when we do, what's going to help you in any of this is having that connection from your hand into your shoulder blade. That is what's really going to give you that power. Because if you don't, then if you're not using that, you might look like this, you can't straighten the arm, and it takes the tension, or you can't find that support, because your shoulder girdle and your pelvic girdle are really the bigger parts of your body that provide you with great support. So now let's have a little bit of a more resting experience with happy baby pose. So if you have support, you can I can show you nice with these two little cushions because they're about the same size. You can put one under your head and one under your pelvis and get a really nice C curve in happy baby pose. You can do this totally on the mat. You can have blankets, whatever works for you. So we're bringing the spine into a more rounded shape. And it's like your thighs are coming down towards the floor, towards your armpits. And if you need to do a little bit of rocking side to side, that's good too. That's helpful too. See if you can focus on the breath, taking long, slow breaths. And then slowly release the legs, and whatever kind of Shavasana you need, whether it's feet up the wall or feet on the chair or plain old Shavasana or something under your knees in Shavasana. The idea about Shavasana is trying to have your body as unobstructed as possible so that the shoulder blades roll down, that the arms are next to your body, that there's some space between your feet. So whichever pose you choose, busyness is not a badge of honor. So if you can find some time for yourself and to really nourish yourself, that is something that I highly recommend. Even if it's just taking a 10-minute walk outside. So whatever pose you chose, bring yourself into softening your breath, or perhaps just noticing what's happening in your breath. Where's your breath moving? And perhaps you can imagine your breath is like warm water flowing down into your arms and legs. So when you inhale, the water flows up the chest to the head. And when you exhale, it flows out the arms and out the legs. And then maybe you can imagine yourself, especially if you don't have fear, you can be floating in the water, or you can be floating on a blow-up mattress, or you can even have a flotation device under your head and one under your knees and legs. There's a whole therapy in the water. There's Watsu, there's a few other things. And being in that environment is pretty incredible. The body can really relax. It's great for people with mobility issues and pain and physical pain. So see if you can imagine yourself floating in the water, being supported. You don't have to worry about splashing into your face or your nose. Your head has enough support so that you can breathe fully. And perhaps you can feel warmth from the sun, not burning heat, but perhaps just a nice warmth where you're not cold. And just allow that gentle movement in the water to allow your body to soften and really, really feel supported. And if you notice any place in the body that's a little bit reluctant to relax, perhaps you just notice your breath in that area or imagine your breath there. And if it's not working today, you still have many more days you can try it out. And then slowly begin to deepen your breath Bring a little bit of movement into your hands, feet. Maybe you need to do a full body stretch somehow. You can roll to your side. You want to make the transitions smooth and effortlessness so that you're not jerking your head up or jerking your spine up. And then when you're ready, you can come up to sitting and namaste. And remember, busyness is not a badge of honor. So find time for yourself each day.